Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. My name is Abby Tyler. I am the host of Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. This is not my regular time. So, for those of you who usually see me at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, since I'm off today and I didn't do anything on Tuesday, I decided to do it a little earlier because now it's like Friday and people are going out and doing things on Friday, and the weather is so beautiful out there. So after I'm done here, I'm gonna go walking. But thanks for all those who will be joining me during this broadcast. And for those who will be joining me later, I say thank you. As you all know by now, I always like to share this show on another page. It's also on my Abby Tyler's Healthy Living group. So if you're going to comment from there, you just have to give permission to StreamYard. That's the reason why I usually don't do that. But just give me 2 seconds here. And I'm going to just share this to another group. And we'll go on from there. Okay, 1 second. It's all the way down to the bottom. Alrighty. Um, mm, 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 mm. Okay, so there we go. Post. Okay. Alrighty. So let me just take a drink of water because my throat's already dry. Okay. Again, starting officially, my name is Abby Tyler. I am a family nurse practitioner, and I practice in a private practice in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I also come with 22 years of nursing experience, and I do some health fair, volunteer in my community, do some health fair in my community, and I'm always willing to contribute to other forums as well as a health contributor. Married mother of two. Okay, so get that out of the way there. And also, my disclaimer, like I always say, whatever I say here, I usually take it from the CDC website, my family practice guidelines, and whatever group that I'm commenting on that day, or whatever topic I'm doing that day for that perspective. So, pediatrics will be today, and family guidelines and other psychological stuff and all. So, social work. So, that's where I got my information from. And like I said, my own practice guidelines too. So do not make any changes to your regimen or to the regimen of your children. Take what I'm saying here today and then discuss it with your provider. So don't make any changes until speaking to your provider, your children's providers, and to your own providers. Because there's some children who don't go to the pediatrician anymore. They go to a general practitioner. And some people don't, they just go to one practitioner. They don't go to like the pediatrician and then separate from the adult doctor and all. Okay, so the topic today is do you know the 10 major health risks that are facing our tweens and teens today? I said tweens because most of these things are coming up around when you're like 9 to 10 years old. Usually that's when they start going to puberty, the outward signs of puberty. And teens also all the way up to age 19. But these topics, if they're not dealt with effectively, they also follow you into your adulthood. Doesn't, you don't just stop, get to 20 years old and stop dealing with things that you were dealing with all through your teenage years if they weren't addressed and dealt with effectively or managed effectively. So, and also for those of us who are from immigrant backgrounds, things I'm going to talk about here today, they also affect immigrants, children too, first generations, the one that were born after their parents came from another country, or those who came here as children. Don't, we always like to say, oh, those things don't bother our people. It's just this kind of people. And you come to America and you have, everything that you need. You have food to eat, you have roof over your head, you have everything going on. What do you have to be depressed about? What do you have to be sad about? Those are just first world problems. Don't worry about it. No, it affects us, all of us differently and the same way also, and because you just don't see it because it's not something we talk about because we come from a culture that, okay, once you have the basic necessities, there shouldn't be anything you should worry about, which is not the case. Okay, so I'm going to be talking today, and most of the disciplines that if I was talking to making the presentation somewhere, and also the pediatrician, your general practitioner, like I said, the kids who go to the regular adult doctors, because as a family nurse practitioner, I'm also trained to take care of anyway, I told you from like birth to the end of life. Nurses, nurses, public health people who do think public health, social workers, therapists, psychiatrists too, because in case if they have to prescribe any medication, we do prescriptions as well, but there's certain things that they do with the psychiatrist. Religious groups, we always say, oh yeah, once you have Jesus, once you have this, you don't have to worry about that. No, religious groups. And when I talk about religious people who are in clergy, or whatever religion you're in. And you want to make sure that somebody who went to school for this, not somebody who just went to 6 weeks course and now all of a sudden they're a pastor or minister or whatever, apostles or whatever people call themselves. You have to make sure that you want to make sure when you're taking your kids to talk to these people that they went to school, they got that degree, and they had their curriculum also included sociology, psychology, developmental psychology, and all of that. It can't just be, and also they want to do something about human reproduction also, because you don't want the kids being shamed when they go there. And also bloggers, people who do some blogging too, and vloggers also, because they're also called influencers. So whatever they're doing, they have to make sure that they're aware of whatever their words say or whatever they show their body or whatever it is that they're doing, that you also affecting, you highly influencing younger people. I know a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, Kim Kardashian this and Kim Kardashian that, but the fact that their shows, they garner so many views. So obviously there's an appetite for that kind of show, as opposed to shows where people have take the time to write productive things and things that will make you healthy, or things that will increase your intelligence. There's nothing wrong with what Kim Kardashian and their family, or people who do um, art, entertainment bloggers. There's nothing wrong with that. You need a balance in your life. You can just be straightforward every time. So, but I'm just saying, if you're getting more people watching things like that, and then you say, oh, well, she's not in this influence, and why is she saying this? Obviously, what she's saying makes news. So, but that's another story for another day. But it's also important in what I'm saying. Okay, so without further ado, I just want to get right into it. Alrighty, so I'm going to go in here, and I'm managing this by myself, by the way. So I have to make sure I do this here. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about different topics today, and let me just go in here and make myself all the way here. Okay, so 10 major health risks facing our teens today. Okay, so I'm going to go in here first, and we're going to start with automobile accidents. Okay, I'll be reading some statistics. Also, I was gonna we're gonna talk about one thing this time, and I saw this wonderful article from Very Well, so I just kind of moved it around, fixed some things in there, and I decided to just use their article. Okay, automobile accidents. Okay, motor vehicle accidents, car accidents. The leading cause of teen deaths in the United States. Okay, according to the CDC, estimated 17s between the ages of 16 and 19 die from motor vehicle accidents, injuries, or are treated in the emergency room for serious injuries. Some of the reasons to that, okay, in America, depending on what state you're in, you can start driving at age 16, but at the same, some people are not mature at that time. For my kids, I wanted them to go to get their license way later. They both got their license when they were already 18. So, and also don't forget, your insurance goes up highly as soon as you put somebody on your insurance, especially for males, because they figure males are more impulsive. So it's very important to teach your kids safety when it comes to that. Main reasons and experience, they're less able to recognize dangerous situations. They have less developed driving reflexes. When you have to hit that brake seriously. With experienced driver, they like to speed. I mean, there are times when I saw my son who was driving, I'm like, with my daughter, I'm like, oh my god. And I get in the car with them, I'm like, slow down. You're a new driver, please slow down. But when you're young, you don't have all their problems and everything, other responsibilities to think about. Your foot hit that pedal and you're just happy to be driving. So but that can contribute to accidents too. Seatbelt use, when they're with their friends, they figure I'm going to be wearing my seatbelt, and please, just uncool to be wearing a seatbelt around it, so they don't usually use it. Also drunk driving, the statistics shows 1 in 16 have ridden in a car with somebody who was a drunk driver. Okay, well, and most of them most people who drink, they think they're gonna drive, but they don't always know how much they drink, and somebody will tell you, no, you need to slow down, but they don't want to hear it, so they just go ahead, and that's not safe. And 1 in 20 admits to driving, to getting behind the wheel after drinking. So that's scary. And when you think about it, when I talk about that, is the fact that I think just recently there was this driving, somebody was driving, he was 13 years old. I don't know how he got behind the car in Texas. It was just on the news that he drove and he ran into the wrong lane and went head on with another car that was carrying a bunch of college students coming from some sporting event, and everybody died. It's so sad. It was so sad. I'm like, it's so sad when you think about it. So automobile accidents, make sure that you're talking to your young ones about it. Okay. And also, like I said, tweens too, because chances are more than likely if your 16, 17-year-old child is old enough to drive, they're probably going to be driving the younger siblings to school or to different activities. So you want to make sure that they stay safe. Okay. We will move on to suicide. By the way, this list is not completely comprehensive, so there are other things that you may see or that bothers them more than the list that I gave here. So it's not be all and end all. Okay, the next one is suicide. Suicide is suicide highline is right there. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among adolescents. Between 2007 and 2017, the rates of teen suicide increased by 56%. Statistics show that roughly one in every high school student attempts suicide. So most of the time you'd be like, okay, and they attempted many times prior to that. And you're thinking, oh, yeah, okay, this person, nobody knows that, nobody knew until it happened. They give you signs and other different things, and you need to be paying attention to your kids. Like my kids, when I work now, I work far from home, and I say, okay, my kids are grown, so I don't really have to be there that much for them. But they're still young, they're still navigating through life, so you still have to be there for them. Okay, the issues are very complex, and there aren't usually just one or two factors. It's a very myriad of factors. Those who have good communication skills with their family members, the adults and productive adults in their life, have less chances of doing that. So you want to recognize the warning signs of suicidal thoughts in teens. And when they come to the office, I always ask you. I don't take care of the younger group, but I also have to ask people who, because I take care of people who are 20 years old, 19 years old, and all. So we always ask that any homicidal or suicidal ideations. All right, and we go through that. Of course, most of the time they will say no because they know if they say yes, we're going to go ahead and start moving forward because by law, we're mandatory reporters. We're supposed to make sure. So they may say no, and we'd always get that in the office because most of the young people who kill themselves, usually they kill themselves within a couple of months of after seeing the pediatrician or their doctors. So just imagine that. All right. So you want to make some of the signs you want to pay attention to, feeling like feeling like a burden. They want to be more isolated, increased anxiety about everything that's going on in the world, everything that's going on with their school, feeling trapped and in unbearable pain, increased substance use, looking for a way to access lethal means, which is, especially if you have guns in the home, you want to make sure that's safe. I'm not here to debate the gun issue and all that. It's just I'm just saying if you do have it in your home for whatever reason, make sure it's safe away from your kids. Increase anger or rage. Like you see somebody be like, I don't even recognize this child anymore. There never used to be that kind of way before. There's something about them, just something that's telling me that something is not right. So you want to keep an eye out for that. Extreme mood swings. Like you tell them, oh, okay, did you clean your room today? And they go off. It's like I simply just asked you a question, and their response to you shouldn't be so much different than what it's supposed to be. Expressing hopelessness. I don't care, I don't do this, and not their grades start falling, they don't care about anything that they used to care about, and you see that happening more often than normal. Pay attention to that. Talking or posting about wanting to die. Sometimes you see people posting online, and I will, like, sometimes I don't want to be nosy, but if you see things like that, you be like, oh, I'm just checking to make sure everything's okay, right? Okay, because I'm hope you're okay. You can always call me. You can do this, you can do that. I don't mean to be in your business, and you have every right not to say anything to me. And please excuse me if you think I'm being nosy, but I just that this is not the usual way that you post. So I'm just making sure that you're okay. Alrighty, and making plans for suicide. People, sometimes they make plans. They literally, this is what I'm going to do. This is, you want to be, just keep an eye out for anything that seems different. Doesn't mean they're suicidal, and they're not. They may get pissed off if you keep asking them so many different questions. But approach it and know yourself too. Don't come across like, oh my God, if you do this and you're not going to go to heaven and this and this and this and this. And no, that is not what the child needs at that moment. They need you to be empathetic and listen. And if they have any questions, you have to make sure. And sometimes they'll tell the pediatrician too and won't tell you. So they'll tell you, you may need to go get somebody, get them checked. You have to go and get them checked because we have to make sure all of that is clear before we can even sign them off to get their driver's license. Okay, so if they're telling me this, I'm not signing their application for their driver's license because it's not safe enough. You don't want somebody who can drive taking the heavy machinery and hurting themselves or hurting somebody with it. So if you think your child, if you think anything's going on there and anything more than that, you want to call the suicide, so speak to the doctor and call the suicide hotline. The number's right there, 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255 or 273-TALK. Okay, it's open 24/7. Anybody can call and it's confidential. And then they've had counselors on hold, and they can call help if you need to. All right. So I'm just gonna looking to see there. Okay. One more. Not one more. Sorry. Gun violence. All right. Gun violence. Homicide by firearm is the third leading cause of accidental death for young adults between age 15 and 24. That's pretty sad. And then, especially when you live in certain places too, you just see it. It just becomes it's almost like you become numb to it. Let me change my screen there. You become numb to it, but you shouldn't, because that's a generation of people that are just been lost. They say you hear a lot about school shootings, somebody go into the school and kill 10 to 15 people, even more than that, which is very, very tragic. That gets a lot of attention, but you don't hear too much. And when that doesn't get too much attention nationwide, is like shooting in the different neighborhoods and all. You don't get it. But if you hear something about something that happens in Philadelphia or something that happens in the heavy metropolitan area, you only hear on this news, or when they're doing on your local news, or when they're doing some kind of study. So you don't hear about it. But a lot of people they're dying. They have a higher chance of dying from that than getting killed in a mass shooting at their school. All right. Research shows roughly 1 in 3 handguns is kept loaded and unlocked. So if that child is thinking about something, your teenager is thinking about something, they're very impulsive. Somebody says something to them, and people will tell you, meet me offline, let's meet to this place and do that. And they're taking it to school, or they're taking it to the playground because somebody said something about them. Back in our day, somebody said something to you, you fought it up. First of all, if I fought at school, I was gonna get beat up anyways when I get home. I'm gonna get punished or spanked when I get home. So I didn't get myself involved in any kind of stuff. And when I came to this country, it's like there were times people were doing things to me, and I just felt like, oh my God, I have to defend myself because I have to walk home. But thank God none of that was at play when I was young, because you feel so hurt and you just feel so powerless. But and most children, and like I said, younger kids are impulsive, and they don't think on the long term devastation that may incur after doing that. So they just want to finish whatever they want to do here and now. Also, because of that, too, the suicide too. So you want to make sure if you have any firearms in your house, you make sure that you're keeping it safely. All right. Okay, so what a child has first-hand knowledge, and they see the shooting, like I said, we become numb and everything. So when you're talking to your younger ones, even teenagers too, you want to limit the news coverage of traumatic events. Like I said, well, sometimes I don't even want to watch the news. I want to be informed, but I don't want to watch the news because it's so sad, And for example, when I got up in the morning, I started getting ready for work, and Good Morning America comes on, and they were talking about the war, leading up to the war, and then the war fighters start happening. I'm like, when I wake up in the morning, it's like I'm so sad, and I empathize with the people there. But sometimes you internalize all that, so you want to make sure that you're not caught up in all of it. Okay, so it doesn't mean you don't care about them. It's just that sometimes you want to just break away from it a little bit. All right, listen to your child's concerns, because they're scared. They're scared that somebody could come to the school and shoot them up. They're scared if they go to the store, somebody could carjack them. They're scared somebody could shoot them when they're on the playground. Listen to them and comfort them and explain to them. You can't always protect them, but also teach them the ways to protect themselves as well, and try to keep them away from places that have higher levels of violence and all. Try to put their fears into proportion to the real risk, which is small, because sometimes little kids can see something that would be small to you, but is major to them. So you want to make sure you explain that to them and say, "Oh, you're not going to get," and stop talking like that. No, listen to them carefully when they're expressing their fears. Reassure your teens and adults that everything you're doing to make them safe and make their neighborhood safe. Let them know that they can call family member if they feel unsafe. They can call the cops. They can do this. And I know there's issue with the cops, and I know there's all this different stuff and all, but they're still there to protect, because if anything happens, you still have to call the cops anyways. All right. So making sure that you develop a good relationship with the law enforcement in your neighborhood, and most neighborhoods now, especially neighborhoods where a lot of things go on, the police are also trying to develop healthy relationship that you can call, because you don't want to be so afraid that they're going to do something to your family member that you don't call when that family member is doing you wrong, is hurting you or causing you harm. You want to be able to call, and at the same time knowing that yes, your family member will probably get penalized, but not excessively. Put it that way. All right. In the school, talk to your school, go to your PTA meetings. Please don't wait till like something happened before you go to your PTA meeting. Try to attend the PTA meetings at least once or twice a year, 3 times, because the ones who are really loud are the ones who go. The ones who sit there and don't go. And I understand sometimes the schedule just doesn't work out. My schedule never worked out for my kids' stuff, but I tried to go when they were the beginning of the school year, and when they had student teacher meetings. I tried to be there as much as possible. It was either me or my husband. Okay, there's nothing. I'm not bad mouthing anybody who can make it there, but you can still call the teacher and have a one-on-one conference. Okay, so bullying. The next one is bullying. I'm just gonna look in here. I'll try to get to the comments, and I'm just trying to get this out of the way first, okay? Because we're already 20 minutes into it. All right, bullying. Bullying, roughly 1 in 3 adolescents are impacted by bullying. Bullying would describe a form of aggressive behavior in which someone intentionally and repeatedly causes another person injury, discomfort. Bullying can be verbal, social, physical, or done online in form of cyberbullying. Okay, so these kids, they have to like everything else that they have to deal with, they have to go through bullying. And back in our day, again, I'm making it sound like I'm so old, but that was before the internet. Okay, so um, somebody said something to you, they hurt your feelings and all. Yes, you felt sad, and like I already alluded to that before, but you didn't have to worry about somebody is online and they're sharing. Everybody's got their phone in class and they're sharing pictures and they do a screenshot of this and this and that and things that and some kids can be so mean. It's like either people say, okay, yeah, because that's the kind of home they grow up in. But I mean, some of us grew up in homes where it was like not lovey dovey, but we're not that mean. Okay, excuse me. But it's like they're so mean and they say things and they hurt you and they say hurt people, hurt people. Yeah, maybe they're going through the same thing, but when you're the object of that person's hate and that person's mean and bullying over and over and over, you don't have time to empathize with what could be going on in their lives that's causing them to do that to you. You just want them to stop the pain. Okay, going back again to suicide. You want to sit there and you want to listen and say, this is going on. Don't say, oh yeah, we grew up saying sticks and stones don't break my bones, and no, and when words, this can soon be break my bone, but words can't hurt. No, that's not that's been archaic for so long. No, that's not where we are. We're gonna make there and say, listen. Let me see what you're talking about. If it means you have to go to this to your school, to the school and see what are you doing about this, because my child is really suffering. My child doesn't want to go to school. My child is this and that. What are you guys doing about this? And sadly, most kids will not tell their parents, because it's like either the parents will say, "Oh, just rub it off your shoulder, you're fine," or they be afraid that first their parents are going to come to the school, and because of that, they'd be like, "Okay, these kids are going to bully me more, even more, because my parents came to the school. Oh, what are you, a baby? What are you, a baby?" So you don't want to do that. So when they start doing that, signs of bullying, if you don't they start changing the behavior and all, they're complaining and they don't want to go to school. Okay, coming home with unexplained cuts and bruises or scratches, making excuses to avoid school or resisting going to school or riding on the school bus is really terrible on the school bus too, by the way. Complaining of frequent headaches, stomach aches, or other physical ailments, having trouble sleeping, having frequent bad dreams, losing interest in schoolwork, or suddenly doing poorly in school, appearing sad, moody, teary, anxious, or depressed when they come home from school. So if you see some of these, make sure you're talking to your kids and bring it up and talk about it, because this also goes back to suicide and all. So, okay. I remember way back when I think one of our pastors, when he was studying, he said there is this kid who everybody used to tease him all the time. He was like, they used to tease him and he used to come home and he had no friends, like literally no friends. And one day he got his room up and he cleaned it up nicely. And his mom's like, well, you cleaned your room. And he had everything where it was. And he was coming from school and somebody hit him and his books all fell on the floor, on the ground. And one of the popular kids like, oh, yo, let me get your books. Let me get your books. And he said, okay, I'm just going to walk you home, because he said, my parents won't be home for a while. And it was, I'll just go hang out with you. And his friend said, wow, you have your room all cleaned up and this and that. Everything looks packed, like you're moving somewhere. And he said, oh, and then from them, they became friends, because he's like, okay, my parents won't be home. And they always say your parents are home. So I'll just hang out with you. And many years later, the story it still kind of gets me when I say it. And many years later, the one who was being teased, he said, "You remember that day when you came to my house when you saw everything was packed up and this and that?" He said, "Yeah, I remember. You looked like you were going somewhere." He said, He said, that was the day I was planning on killing myself. He said, I just wanted to make sure everything was nice and everything was the way it's supposed to be, so nobody can come into the room and say my room was dirty. He said, that was the day. If you hadn't come home with me today, that day, I would have killed myself. I literally was like planning to kill myself and just lay in my bed and just finish it up. He said, I just live in a world where it's so painful, where nobody likes me, where nothing I can do. I can't make friends. He said, if you hadn't hit me, the guy's like, really? Really? And they stay friends forever. So you just never know. So watch out for the different signs. Okay. I'm just gonna take a drink of water. Alrighty. So we will be going on to, I'm trying to not to make this more than an hour. So make sure it's important to keep the lines open to talk to your senior. The next one is sexual risks, pregnancy and sexually transmitted infection or sexually transmitted diseases. Most people say STDs. And when it comes to sex, and your teenagers and all, they'd be like, oh, oh, my daughter's a good girl. She wouldn't be doing that. My son is a good boy. He wouldn't be doing that. He wouldn't be getting with these fast girls. We always say our girls are fast, but the boys are heartthrob. Oh, yeah, oh, he's going to break hearts. And the girl, oh, don't be getting on fast. Don't get pregnant. And we don't talk about it, especially, African parents never talk about sex. This is the sex talk we got when we were growing up. If you get pregnant, you're going back home. That was it. There was no, you knew it. It's like there was no more to say to that. I grew up in a house with like 5 girls, when I came to America. So it was like it was like, that's it. You get pregnant, you're going home. That was the end of it. You're not gonna you're not gonna bring shame to our family. You're not gonna bring shame to the neighborhood. You're not gonna bring shame to our nation. We have so much pressure when you, especially when you're first generation, and also when you come here as a young child. It's like there's so many things where you're caught in between cultures. You're trying to be American at the same time you're trying to be, whatever country you're from, and you're a teenager and you're trying to be a teenager and navigating this crazy world, and you have so much pressure on you to be one thing. So when it comes to sex, my main thing I said to be knowledge, to give them the knowledge. And most schools talk about it, but they only talk about having your period and boys developing. But the kids will start developing. Girls, like I said, girls from age 8 to 9, that's when they start puberty. That's when they start getting outwards appearance of puberty, meaning pubic hair and breast and all, and hair on an arm. And for boys, 9 to 10. And it goes on until the girls see their period, and they can get pregnant when they see their period. And boys, he also develop, all their different characteristics. And at the same time, they can also get somebody pregnant. But most of the time when these young girls get pregnant, they get pregnant by older men, so older people. So you want to make sure you talk to them about that. And don't say that we said and somebody touches you, then you get pregnant. Don't give them anything that's not going to be true. Make sure you're telling them that it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. So you can always get somebody who's more comfortable, the pediatrician, because trust me, they know about it. Google's there and they're learning it. So why not learn the right way? And if you don't feel comfortable, like I said, you can talk to the school, you can talk to the school nurse, the guidance counselor, anybody to talk to them about it. Knowledge is power. Okay, tell them about it. Tell them about the safety part, and also you can talk about abstinence. Some churches, that's all they want to talk about is abstinence. Some people who are the good people only want to talk about abstinence. Okay, that's fine. I said abstinence, but also protection. You can say, I would prefer that you don't do anything now while you're still young, because there's so many things that come with becoming sexually active when you're young. But at the same time, I want to say, if you do it, please make sure you're protecting yourself, because it's not just getting pregnant. So many different things that can come along with it. All right. Teens are at increased risk of contracting sexually transmitted diseases from older adults than older adults. Studies showing 46% of sexually active teens did not use a condom the last time they had sex. You want to use a condom each time, every time. And also make sure the condom is not 100% effective. So they tell you that. And even when you're using a condom, the condom doesn't cover the part around your genitals. And so you're rubbing skin to skin. So you can still get herpes. You can still get other things that are rubbed skin to skin. So you want to make sure you check on that. 1/5, estimated 1/5 of young people are diagnosed with HIV every year, and the other one have other STIs that things like herpes, if you get it, you never get rid of it. It comes when you under stress, you get flare up, you get it. That's something you're gonna have to live with for a very long time. So you want to make sure you check that. And also, it also has legal issues too. let's say a young person, he's with he or she is with their girlfriend or boyfriend, and oh no, she was saying yes, or she was giving the signs that she was saying yes, and she was making it seem like she wanted to do it. So there's, you don't want to be 13, 14, 15, even teenage years, and go into prison because of sexual assault, because the girl gave you some signal, or because she was wearing this, or because she was already in my room, so I expected her to understand when she come into my room, or she came home with me. That's what it meant. If she gives you a sign and she says no, you no. No means no. No doesn't mean, oh well, if you talk to me, oh well, if you convince me, no means no. Okay, and know the person that you're with, know them very carefully, because you can say, even if she say yes and she turns around and say no, that's still your word against hers, so they're most likely going to believe her. So you want to make sure that you know this person. If you're dating somebody, it's always nice to kind of know their family members. The two family know each other, so they can talk. If there's any issues, they can talk it over. Okay, I'm not saying that this thing where if somebody rapes you, you should, okay, let's bring the family together and talk. No, I'm talking about something where is you do that way be ahead of time. So this guy won't be likely to rape your daughter, or this girl won't be likely to say something about your son, or whatever, same sex relationship and all that. So making sure that you have a healthy relationship with the parents. I like to do that. Back in the day, we'd be like, oh, your name is what? You know, Tanner Johnson. Okay, you Johnson from the Johnson from this place. So it's like they're asking so many questions, because it's not so much want to be nosy, but it's a sense of community. So when everybody knows each other, we kind of look out for each other's children. All right. And also for this, you want to make sure you're talking about sexual abuse from adults, and safe touching. You want to discuss safe touching your uncle, your friend, or this. Nobody should be touching you the way that's uncomfortable. Nobody has access to have access to your body. No, they shouldn't be opening the bathroom door when you're getting dressed. They shouldn't be opening. No, they shouldn't be doing any of that. And please, people, as much as possible, don't just leave your children for anybody to babysit them. Don't do that. I see people doing that. Oh yeah, I love for this person. Oh, I love. It's like, oh no, don't do that. It takes 30 minutes for somebody to be assaulted, and then life changed forever. And they won't say anything, because that's uncle this, or that's auntie this and this. So please make sure you're doing that. Keep and the child under pressure for sex and all. Talk about that. You don't have to have it. Let your friends say you're a virgin, or let your friends say you don't want to do this. Who cares? Doesn't mean you're so holy because you're a virgin, but you just, okay, that's not what I want to be involved in right now. I want to concentrate on other things in my life, and that is okay. But also stress protection too, because you may say, okay, yeah, this happened and all, but you want to make sure your child's going to be around for a long time. And if they do get pregnant, it's very important that you don't ostracize them. You don't say, oh, to people, oh, we make a live in one house, oh, this and this. And if you don't support that girl that's pregnant and all that, chances are more than likely she may have that baby and or become promiscuous, or become shattered and everything. Because if the boy's not involved in their life, what's going to happen? So support her, saying, I understand you're pregnant, and it is not a reflection on you as a parent. Not say, oh, you're not taking care of your parent, or you're so busy doing this, that's why your child got pregnant, or your son did this and this and that. No, you can say, I'm going to support you all the way. And at the same time, so you have the baby, we can help you, because the most important thing is to make sure that she grows up and gets to where she gets her education, and then move on with her life. Okay, so it's not about shaming the person. It's no reflection on you or your parental style and all. Sometimes people do things and leave their kids somewhere, and they'll be like, oh my god, I did something and my child moved to a certain area. And you don't let the guilt eat you up. Face the problem and then move on from there. Now I know people saying that's easier said than done. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. Okay. I think we're back in the day. Oh, that when she had a baby, when she was teenagers. I know a lot of people who got pregnant when they're very young for whatever reason, and they're productive people today. But it all depends on how the parents receive it, and also protect that child, and also encourage that child and support that child through that early pregnancy. All right. Okay. Next one is tobacco use. Uh, Tobacco use. Tobacco is the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. Preventable death. So if it's something that will help you, because when you're smoking, you have a risk of high lung cancer. You're talking about circulatory problems. You're talking about aneurysm, things that other things, heart problems, and all those things that affect your heart and your lungs, that can affect everything else in your life. So if you don't smoke, do not smoke. If you feeling pressure to do it, do not smoke. And all there's so many there's so many methods out there to stop quitting if you do smoke. There's the gum. They have the patches. They have you can also There's the number is 1-800-QUIT now if you want to call, by the way, and all the different behavior measures, behavior therapies that you can use to quit smoking, especially if you started smoking very young. Remember, I'm seeing people in my office that are like 40, 50s, and I'm like, how long have you been smoking? Oh, since I was like 20, and you've been smoking all these many years. I'm seeing the after effect of smoking for all those many years. Okay, so if you try not to do it, even vaping, e-cigarettes, all of that, they just found out a lot of lung diseases that come from vaping, and also don't think that's even safer. So making sure that you don't smoke, okay? And if you do right now, try to make sure you cutting out that behavior. Alrighty, next one is, sorry if I feel like I'm going too fast in this, okay? The next one is recreational drugs. Alrighty. Recreational drugs. We already see about the opioid pandemic, endemic, and everything that people are dying from it. Because look at, I think West Point, the cadets just the other day, last week, where they got heroin, fentanyl laced with heroin, the heroin laced with fentanyl, and all, I think like they were almost like most of them were like very severely sick, and even the ones who tried to do CPR on them, they kind of passed out too. So like that's how potent that was. Imagine trying to do CPR on somebody to do rescue breathing first. By the way, if you have to do CPR, if you're not a trained medical person and you're out there and you don't have any protective barrier, just go straight to the compression. The most important thing is getting that heart to keep perfusing. Just go straight to compression of the heart, call 911 first, and go to compression and start doing that. Do not put your mouth to another person's mouth. Unless if that's somebody like your husband, your child, or stuff like that. Do not do that. Just go straight to the compression. Make sure you call for help first. So it's very important that you do it. And once you get hooked on this, it's so addictive. And some people will do everything, and you see this person who was like really nice person completely changing because this drug that they're taking. It's supposed to like it messes with your brain. So you don't want to be in a position where you're sitting there and everything that you work so hard for and your family works so hard for, they're hooked on drugs, and it leads you to have like unpredictable, you can have unsafe sex, you can do things that you weren't doing otherwise, and it changes your life and changes your family's life. I've had people who their family members, a son, a daughter, a young person was on drugs, and it really affected, tore the whole family apart. So you want to make sure, speak to your doctor, speak to your pediatrician if that's the case. People get hooked on, like I said, the heroin and fentanyl, and opiate addiction can be major life threatening. Many people start out just taking prescriptions, and then they go on to then become addicted. So you want to make sure you check on that. The number for national helpline is 1-800-662-4357. That's 1-800-662-4357. I know people, and once again, it's not a reflection on your parental style. Okay, kids have they face enormous pressure, much more than what we had to face before. So if this is going on, speak to your family doctor about that. Encourage your child to have an exit plan if they offer drugs, such as text in a code word to a family member, and practice how to say no assertively. Alrighty. And the next one is alcohol. Alrighty. So we will go to alcohol. Alrighty. So, sorry. Thanks to those who have been hanging on with me and those who will be watching later. Again, underage drinking can lead to many problems, including difficulty in school, poor judgment, impulse control, legal troubles, health problems. All right. According to 2019 survey, 30% of high school seniors reported drinking alcohol in the last month, and 14% admitted to binge drinking. That was when you're drinking a whole lot more than you drink in one normal setting. Okay. So having ongoing discussion with your teen about underage drinking is important. Encourage a two-way conversation with your teen and clearly state their expectations. You want to ask open-ended questions that encourage your child to tell you how they feel about, and don't do it lecturing, because sometimes they get to the like, they'll be like, oh great, there she goes again. I do that so every once in a while with my children. I'd be like, I came to this country when I was a young girl and I had just a suitcase and full of dreams, and they were like, oh great, she's done the immigrant talk again. So I can see in the eyes. So making sure you don't sound like you're just running on and on and on, because after a while they'll just kind of tune you out. You were young before you know that. Okay, so, and alcohol is a depressant, so it slows the body and mind. All right, being the influence also impairs coordination and slows your reaction time. Once again, going back to the drunk driving thing. Alrighty, drinking impairs your vision and judgment. We can also lead you to do things that you wouldn't do if you were not drunk. All right. Most parents, most of us don't want our teens to drink. It's important to keep the lines of communication open. Everything again is about keeping the lines of orientation of conversation open. Alrighty, and the next one is eating disorders. Okay, I wanted to talk about this is one eating disorder. There are like three major ones. There's so many different ones, but anorexia nervosa, that's the one you don't want to eat, and you keep thinking, yo, if I eat just one more pea or eat one more spoon of rice, I'm gonna get so fat. So you stop eating, and that can be dangerous. And bulimia nervosa, this one you eat so much, and because you're like, oh my god, I just stuffed myself so much, and you put your finger down your throat and you start vomiting, that can mess up your teeth. That can also mess up your heart, because all of that you putting all that you vomiting over and over. That's why when people are having problems with the stomach issues, when they're vomiting, we tell them make sure you're taking drinking a lot of fluids, and also taking other things that will increase your electrolytes or the chemicals in your body, your sodium, your potassium, and all of that, your magnesium, all of that, the little chemicals that control your body. So if you're vomiting it out and rushing it out of your body, eventually your heart will affect your heart, and also with your teeth and all. Okay, so and binge eating disorder too, where you're eating like a whole lot of but there's so many different ones. People used to think was just relationship with food, but it's also like a mental problem too. So you want to make sure you're talking to a dietitian and also talking to a therapist, because it's just saying just eat, or you're not fat, or you're not fat. Why are you saying that? You look at you okay, you find that person in their mind, they don't see what you're seeing. They're looking at you can put them naked in front of the mirror and say this is what it is, but they don't see that. So you'd be like, I don't know why this person can't see that they're so sexy. I don't know why this person can't see not so much sexy, but you're healthy. This is what you're supposed to look like. But and then you have the internet that tells you this is what you're supposed to look like. You have TikTok, you have this and that, you have that, and in magazines and all. I remember when I came to this country, I curvy. Anybody who knows me personally, I curvy. When I came to America, I hated the way, not hated so much. I didn't like the way I looked, because for me, I thought I looked so grown, because only grown women had the kind of body I had. I didn't like the fact that I was curvy. I didn't like the fact that I had a butt. I just wanted to be nice and straight and build like a 12-year-old boy, like most of those models. This is what they say. This is beauty standards, and there's girls in school. I remember watching Saved by the Bell, where they had a nice little mini skirt on and this, and I said, I can wear that. And then one time I remember I went somewhere and this guy said, oh, look at you, man. You look at, you got childbearing hips. Man, you really would have done good in slavery, because it would have, worked you, because I mean, you look like you were built to have babies. I'm like 14, 15 years old. I'm going, oh my God. It's like, whoa, so I hated that. And then and then again, it's like some people don't know how to shut up, like they just say stuff, they don't know how to shut up. I guess he thought he was, I don't know. So I hated that. And it's like, so as I started growing up, now the kind of body that I have is in style. I'm sure eventually it will go out of style again, but it's still not the model's body. So, and at one time I had this little lady, she was so cute. I worked with her, and I was like, you know what, Joe, the clothes I'm wearing a certain way, and I just feel like and she's like, oh baby, if I had your body, I will be naked all day. I just walk around naked all day. It's like, I remember a cute little lady called Ruby. I was like, oh my God. She goes, oh, God knows why he didn't give me that shape. Oh man, I wouldn't know how to act. So it's like in one term, you have people admiring your body, next minute somebody telling you something, and people still like they'll look at it and be like, oh, I don't want BBL because my one of my butt not fitting my body and all of that. Even at my age, sometimes I think about it. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I didn't have to worry about getting a pair of pants that I had to have it tailored to fit in my small waist. I wish I didn't have something that I had to wear and cover this part of my butt. And so even if you get older, you're comfortable with where you are now, but every once in a while that creeps in your thought, and you just have to say, I am what I am. You take it or leave it. So I like myself. I'm fine. So, but that, and then you're talking about the kids and eating, like I say, it causes a lot. Other signs that you have to watch out for will be frequently stepping on the scale and taking your body measurements, restricting food intake, extreme weight loss or extreme weight gain, spending extra time in the bathroom due to throwing up after meals. Keep an eye on that, because most of the time they're throwing up, you see the oil in the toilet bowl, but they're really good at cleaning it up real quick. Swollen lymph nodes, like over here, you've seen that because all that vomiting that takes the toll after a while. From self-inducing vomiting, sneaking food or eating in secrets, eating large portions very quickly, anxiety, depression, and mood swings. All of that they kind of go back to everything else I was talking before. So you want to keep an eye over that. And these are not first world problems. Like again, It affects all of us, whether you're a child of an immigrant, first generation, or you're American person. It affects all of that. So we see that in office, we see that in pediatrics, all through. So there's something social workers, again, guidance counselors, and all, you want to keep an eye out for that. Okay, and I'm going to the very last one here. Okay, obesity. So when I talk about eating disorder, then I go to obesity, but I'm not talking about the kind of obesity where it's like, oh, my child's worrying about that. Again, but it's still about self-image. What you consider could be something very, not somebody who's fine, they'd be like, oh no, I'm fat, I'm fat. We're talking about clinically obese, where when you go to the doctor's office, they stand the way you get your height, and then also get your weight, and then say, okay, that means you're higher, like you're in the 95 percentile. Usually when you go to the doctor, but my kids are always in high in the 95 percentile because they're also very tall for their age. I'm not tall. That my husband's tall, so they brought his height. So they're always there. So, and then they don't take into account your family tradition, your DNA. There's some people who would never be skinny. There's some people who would never be middle to skinny, and all we all have a little bit more in them and all. And there's some people who would never be able to gain weight. Okay, so don't let that bother you to where you're sitting and saying, oh my goodness, I'm fat, and it's bothering you so much. So you want to make sure you talk to develop healthy eating habits. Okay, some of the things that lead to that: with consuming sugary drinks, refined foods, lack of physical activities, sedentary lifestyle like watching TV or playing video games, low self-esteem, depression, family members, and peer problems, and family history of obesity. So if that's the case, you want to make sure you're eating, you're having people sitting close, get everybody to eat together. Don't do that where, oh yeah, Jimmy, the doctor said you're gaining weight, so you got to eat this. Or you put that food down, you're eating, the doctor told you something's going on with you. Oh, don't eat, don't just keep bringing it into them, because that just messes with them too. It's like, okay, I know. Can I just eat one piece of candy in peace? Even as an adult. Yeah, I know, I got on the scale and I know, yeah, I understand that. But don't bring it up. Be very thoughtful, be very mindful, and just be comprehensive about it. Say, yes, I'm really concerned about you, because all this can lead to heart issues later on, high cholesterol, um, if your heart. So you can get a dietitian and you'll talk about it and do that. And also, I mean, like I talk about when I talk about diabetes and I talk about fatty liver and everything I talk about when I did my heart disease, eating healthy from a very young age can prevent that at a later age, because you don't just become 30 and 40 years old and then they find out your cholesterol is high. Your cholesterol level being creeping up long before you got to that point. And you don't want to be put on cholesterol medicine, because by the time they come to me, they already started developing that, because like taking care of 19-year-olds and older. And I'm like, I don't want to put you on blood pressure medicine. I don't want to put you on diabetes medicine right now. I don't want to put you in cholesterol medicine, because eventually that would take a toll. Okay, so I want you to say, these are your numbers. This is what we're looking at. Take it home and then try to exercise now, and this is your roadmap, saying this is what you want to do there to keep healthy, because you don't want to just stay. But when it gets to, if it's too high to where it's going to become dangerous, we have to start your medicine, especially considering a bigger picture, not just the numbers and saying that. We have to look at all the other risk factors. But most of that can be preventable and can be prevented before you get to that point. So eating healthy now, trying a healthy eating plan, balanced meal, and you go on from there. Okay. So I think I concluded all that and I got 46 minutes. Alrighty. So conclusion, it's very difficult being a tween, people from 9 to like 12 and 13, and a teenager and young adults. Again, most of these problems don't just go away because we decide that, okay, we're 20 years old now, so we're fine. A lot of people still dealing with this long into their lives. So in nowadays, it was easier, not easier, it was harder. So it's much harder for them. So please be mindful of that. Don't just say you have everything you need, much more than we had when we were younger or where we lived before. So there's nothing for you to be complaining about. You should be thankful. There are a lot of people in Africa. There are a lot of people in Asia. There are a lot of people who are suffering, don't have. When I'm a teenager, yes, I empathize with the people in Africa who don't have that much to eat, or certain parts of Africa. I was just say Africa, but I'm dealing with my problem now. Whatever it is that I'm going through right now is hurting me now. I'll think about them later. It's not, I mean, selfish, but when you're a teenager and you don't have all of the maturity level to like empathize with everybody else, whatever it is that's bothering you is so much greater than worrying about everybody else. Okay, so be mindful of that. Important for parents to speak to other disciplines like the one I listed before, your doctors, your social workers, your guidance counselors, your clergy, trained clergy. They have to get therapists involved. Public health people, social workers, and all. Make sure you talk to them. It's not something where one person can do, what one parent can do. Okay, get to your pediatrician. They got so many resources out there that can help you out. But at the end of everything, you want to make sure you tell them you love them. I know in our culture we don't usually say I love you, I love you. We show it, but make sure you're doing that with love. If you're doing it with love and caring and concern about their future, you shouldn't be coming across that you just doing it like that. So do it with love. Okay, so I am going to just go in here. I know I didn't want to address the questions before because I didn't want to lose my train of thought. I'm sorry about that. So I'm just gonna thank you for those who stuck with me all through because I know it's a long thing, but most of you be watching later. So alrighty, so I'm going to go in here and see. Okay, I have a lot of people who are okay. So I said, Facebook user, I read about this yesterday. The child driving the other vehicles. Yeah, 13 years old. That's so sad when I heard about it. So you just devastated so many family members. It's so sad. It's so sad. All right, next one. Focus on Liberia. Very impressive issues to highlight. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Focus on Liberia, and thank you for your partnership as well. Hawa Tyler, that's good. Thank you. Facebook user, I'm grateful for the segment of ATA show today. I'm Nana to three tweens, teens, and we have been having these subjects. They learn most of these subjects in school, but their parents have to continuously be on the alert. I'm sharing this video with parents. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, and thanks. Share it to all your friends. I really appreciate that. Alrighty. Next one. Facebook user, can you imagine that? I hate to sound judgmental, but where are the adults in that situation? So it's just sad. Sometimes you shake your head and you're like, you don't want to sound judgmental, but suddenly you're like, how did this 13-year-old child get the car and nobody noticed? But then you're talking about parents who are working and they're sleeping and the kids are moving around, and it's just, sometimes it's sad. Alrighty, so I think I got all the questions there already, and okay, so I think I got that. So, and bottom line is everything I say, make sure you're doing it with love. Reach out for people who need to get to them and talk to them for other resources out there. I'm gonna have to do this for a second. And if you have any more questions or comments, please make sure you get in touch with me, or you can put the comments below. And if I get the chance, I will just answer later on. So thank you all for watching me. I got this done less than 1 hour. Please, please, please do this to protect our young ones. As a whole generation, and these kids need the future to grow up and become responsible adults and contributing members, because they could grow up to, one of them could find the cure for cancer, find a cure for this, something else that's still bothering us today. But make sure, do it, and do it continuously, and lead with love. You want to lead with love because you care about your kids. Everybody care about their kids, or it could be like your niece or nephew too. It's not just one thing, and talk to them. If you see something, talk to their parents, because some people don't like for you talking to their children without talking to them. So making sure you develop good relationships with the people, your children, your children's friends, parents, and making sure you know where they are at all times. Just tell them if they're going somewhere, just say I'm going somewhere. I can't tell you right now. I can't tell you right now, but let at least one person know where you are, because you never know. You could be somewhere and it'd be like, oh no, my child's at home, and then you hear something or shooting something go somewhere, and you find out that your child was among that. So let me see here. Mike Hines, we might have to start calling you Dog Abby. Thank you as always for the education and insight. I enjoy the platform. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much, Mike. I don't want to be called, I'm not a doctor, but I am a provider. So all of this, I have to learn it. And I have to go to teach it to my patients. So I'm playing a role of a provider, middle-level provider. So, but thank you so much. And I thank you for always watching. I am about to call this a day. Thank you all for watching so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. And for those of you who will be watching later, I say thank you. For those of you who are watching on my Abby Tyler's Healthy Living group, thank you. For those who are on YouTube, thank you. Please share the video, share the video, share the video, share the video. Okay. And Facebook user, thank you. And blessed weekend, Abby. Thank you too, Facebook user. I'd love to know who you are. Okay, so thank you all for watching. I will try to be on next Tuesday because Tuesday is my regular day. And comfort, I want to do more topics on children for now. Maybe just finish up with children for this time because people say I don't talk that much about children, but I did say a lot on children today. So I'll talk about the younger ones next time. All right. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Much appreciated. Thank you all so much. You stay safe out there. Stay safe out there. Stay safe out there. Okay. And loving each other. All right. Thank you all for watching. You have a great night and a great weekend. Bye. God bless. Namaste.